Hey everyone, Hercules here, and wow, it's been 4 years since I made a previous video. I guess you can say I really fell off the wagon here, but I'm back. And interestingly enough, I've been gaining more subscribers than when I was actually making videos. I mean, maybe people are just finally catching up to my videos, but I'm happy to have you here. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and jump into this video. So first off, I will put a timestamp here so you can jump straight into what this video is about. But I kind of want to give a brief overview on how I'm going to change the channel, right? When I first started this channel, it was, a lot of things. It was gaming, it was PC tech, it was movies at one point, and it just, I didn't really have a passion for it. But over the past 4 years, I found my passion, my calling, and that is IT. I love IT. I love my job. I love what I do. I'm currently a system administrator at one of the top universities in my state of Virginia. And, I love what I do, whether it's solving problems, helping others, coming up with new solutions, dealing with PowerShell, obviously. I love it. So this channel and videos going forward is going to be not how you can get into IT, because there's a bajillion videos about that, but what happens after you got your certification, you got the interview, and you got the offer letter. What now, right? I don't really see any tips about that. Now, there's a lot of Reddit posts, there's a lot of forums, Spiceworks, Stack Overflow, things like that. But I don't really see videos about, the everyday life of someone being in IT. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop into this video here. So this video is going to be, and again, future videos will be about everyday things that you can do in IT, right? And one of those things that I love to do is creating scripts to not only make my job easier, to make my team's job easier as well. All right, so this isn't about learning how to code or learning how to write scripts, but to kind of give you an idea of what you can do when it comes to scripting. Okay, so this script is pretty much, it takes the ISO that we use. We do use SCCM, and to load into the boot image, we do use a USB. We could PXE boot. I know a lot of people may be saying, hey, why don't you just PXE boot? Well, because we are a university and we have different departments, and we don't have our own PXE boot server. It's just one less server I have to worry about. I'd rather worry about USBs than trying to worry about maintaining a PXE boot server. Now, the next question you're going to be saying is, well, why don't you just use Rufus? It's a great tool. Yes, I get it. I use it all the time. But you have to understand, when you're in the position that I'm in, you want to make sure that everything is done accurately and no errors, which is the whole point of scripting. You should be able to repeat a task without any errors, right? And with Rufus, you do have the chance of making some sort of mistake, whether it's choosing the wrong format type, choosing the wrong ISO, or not knowing which USB drive that you're doing, right? And it sometimes it can get a little overwhelming, and I've actually seen it confuse one of our technicians. So I wrote this script where you can't get confused, and the only choice that you have to make is making sure you choose the only USB stick, and 9 times out of 10 you only have one USB stick inside of the computer. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through this script here. I'm gonna break it down and kind of show you my thought process on how we do it, and then we'll actually give a demo on how this script works. The things I'm about to say is very, very elementary, but you have to realize that this is not just for me, but it's for my team as well, right? All right, so the first thing I do is I always clear the host, and then I do all of this here. I put this inside of a do loop, right? And we'll see why in a second. All right, so the first thing I do, I have 2 variables here. So the reason why I have these variables up here is because I was going to distribute this script to other units within my university. but other people decided to decline on it. You know, that's fine. And it is what it is, right? So obviously we have the path of the ISO here, and we do call this BMC, Boot Media Creator, because that's exactly what it is. And I do use FAT32. Now you may be saying, why not use, you know, NTFS or anything like that? Well, FAT32 is okay because my ISO is always under 4 gigabytes. Like the day that it would get 4 gigabytes is a day that I really need to look into my drivers and everything to see why is it at 4 gigabytes. All right. The other thing I do here is that I just create an object using WScript, and we'll see why in a second. All right. So the first actual thing in the script that we do, the first actual thinking, is checking to see if this path actually exists. If it doesn't exist, then we have a pop-up. All right, and this is a really cool pop-up that's part of this object here. And pretty much this is what the main test is going to be. I don't remember what this parameter is for. You could easily, obviously you can Google it, but I'm not sure what the parameter is for. This is the title, and this is what kind of pop-up it would be. Technically, it is a hex variable. Not hex variable, but a hex value. It pretty much says you're a question pop-up and you should have an OK button, or you should have a yes or no button, or your error pop-up. All right. So at 48 is an error pop-up. All right. So if we go ahead and run this here, I'll bring this over here. You can see here that it is that error pop-up with that yellow triangle, and it just, you know, says okay. Right. The reason I do out null is because you can see down here that it did display or output 1, and pretty much 1 just means that the user click OK. So as long as this is good, then we're good. If for some reason that path doesn't exist, then I do this kind of retry thing. Now, I know what you're saying, you know, I should go ahead and kill the script because this path doesn't exist. And I wrote this script 3 years ago, and I really never looked back. So maybe I'll take some time to look back into it and actually just kill the script and exit out the script instead of going through all this other checking. And the other reason that I haven't looked back into it is because in our environment, we do use the all signed execution policy. So this is a signed script, and I just didn't feel like re-signing the script. All right, so as long as this doesn't return true and evaluates the true, we go ahead and go to our other things here. All right, we're going to check for USBs. All right, so PowerShell has this cool thing called gig this. It does take a little bit, but you can see here that I have a 1 terabyte SSD. I have a Western Digital 1 gig, and then I have this Memorex tribal drive right here. This is my USB drive. And then I'm checking to see where the bus type is equal to USB. So if we go ahead and just run this here, and it puts that into this variable here. This is the only one that I care about, is that Memorex, right? So if for some reason I didn't have that USB drive in, then again I will get this pop up here and then format. Now this here will give a chance to allow a user to put in a USB drive rather than killing the script. So this does make sense here. And again, we'll see why in a second. As long as this doesn't equals true, we go ahead and jump into the actual meat of the script. All right, so this is a second do loop. So I have a do loop within another do loop. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get the selected this, and how I'm going to get that, I'm going to use the out grid view. All right, so the way I can do that is I use get this. Again, I'll pipe it into here, and I want to make sure that the size is greater than 0. And after thinking about it, I want to make sure that the size is greater than my ISO here, right? If the size is greater than 0, but let's say that it's 256 or 512 gigs, not gigs but megabytes, then well, I'm screwed. So really I can make sure that it's at least 1 gigabyte or at least bigger than the ISO here. And then, once I confirm that, I go ahead and put that into an out grid view. And then I use the output mode single, which allows you to select the entry using the out grid view. And then the magic happens. We're going to go ahead and clear the disk, right? We're going to remove all the data, remove any OEM stuff. Don't ask me am I sure, just go ahead and do it. And then we're going to go ahead and set the disk to MBR. Now you may be saying, why not just set it to GPT? Well, in our environment, we have some older machines that is unable to run in GPT and actually requires MBR. And obviously with Windows 11 releasing and Windows 10 going bye-bye in October 2025, this is definitely not going to be necessary anymore. However, it's not going to hurt. The way that the ISO is configured, it will run in MBR or GPT. So it honestly doesn't matter. All right. So the next thing I need to do is I need to get the drive letter of that disk. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new partition. Right. I'm going to use the whole drive. I'm going to go ahead and make it active, and I'm going to let Windows. Oopsies. I'm going to let Windows assign a drive letter, and then I'm going to format that using the partition type, which I already defined up here. All right, so this dismount image. The reason why I have the dismount image first is because sometimes my text will cancel out of a formatting, and they'll try to run it again, but it's stuck, right? And then now I have two drives mounted, and I can't really not two drives. I have two ISOs mounted, and I can't figure out what that drive letter is. So that's why I always dismount first. And you're going to see how I figure out how to get that drive letter from mounting. So even if I mount this image, for some reason PowerShell does not give you the drive letter that you mounted for, right? And we can prove that here. We're going to put this everything in here into a variable. All right, so we mark it A, and we will go ahead and do a format list to get everything possible, right? And there's no drive letter whatsoever when it comes to that mount image. All right, so unfortunately, if you can figure out how to get the drive letter after you mount that image, kudos to you. But for me, without doing some trickery, it doesn't work. So with that being said, let's talk about this trickery. All right, so this is my ISO variable. This is how I get that drive letter from the mounted image. So we do a get value, and we're going to look at the object where the file system label matches. I could say equals here, configuration manager. So if you use SCCM or MECM, and you go ahead and you configure a task sequence media, you have the option to choose the label. By default, it's always configuration manager. Also, I want to make sure that that size is equal to 0. Now, obviously, I could have used the and here. I just didn't, so don't ask me why I did. And then I wrap that all into the drive letter, and that's how I get the drive letter. All right, so I set my location to boot here, and I wrote this 3 years ago, and I'm not sure why I set this to drive letter : /boot. I'm honestly not sure. So, but I'm sure there was a reason at first, but I can't remember why. Let's move along here. All right, so this is the actual, probably the most important part of the script. This actually makes the drive bootable. This uses something called bootsec.exe. We use this flag here /nt60, and we go ahead and set it to this drive letter, which is the drive letter of the USB drive that we just formatted. Should be MBR FAT32, and that actually makes the drive bootable. All right, so I put all of this into a do loop, because if I didn't, what would happen is technician could exit out of my out grid view, and then now I get errors, and I'm just stuck in this loop. So now I force them to pick a USB drive. If you don't want to, if you want to close out of the script, you can just close out of the PowerShell window. Yes, it seems kind of backwards, but it actually works. And again, in our environment, however your environment goes, maybe you do some other stuff, but in our environment, this actually works. All right, and then we just go ahead and copy everything. We use the recurse, and then I use the verbose parameter. Reason I do that, I want to make sure everything is copied. There is one file, it's just the boot.wim, which is like, I think 500 megs, maybe 600 megs, that, you know, it'll get stuck on, and I let my technicians know, hey, even though you see it here, that's okay. Just it's not frozen. It'll keep going. Trust me. And then finally, we go ahead and dismount. Now, after all of this is done, let's see here. After all of this is done, we do a retry, right? And we say, hey, do you want to format another drive? Because, and again, in my environment, is it okay to have one drive? Yes. Not Microsoft OneDrive, but the actual number one, right? Yes. But let's be real. We're in IT. We need to have multiple USB drives on us at all times, especially if you're setting up an entire lab where you have 20 machines. So maybe you can do 10 drives. So maybe you can do 20 drives if you have that. And that way you can do multiple machines at once. All right. So again, this 36 represents a question. And no, it represents a yes and no. And we can see that here. Hey, do you want to format another drive? We have this question here. We have that yes and no. If we hit yes, we get 6. And again, I put that value into the retry variable. So if retry equals 6, then I just tell the person or tell the technician, please insert another flash drive, press OK when you're ready to format. Once they press OK, then we'll go back into the do loop. And the reason we're going back into the do loop, because this main do loop is going to keep going until retry equals 7, which obviously means no. And as a courtesy, I just say, hey, remove your flash drive. And then the whole script finishes and it closes. All right. So let's actually see this in action. All right. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, and we're going to go ahead and run. And again, you can see here, again, this is some good information here about what's currently connected on your machine. You got a Memorex, certain number really doesn't matter, but you also have the size here. So again, I can immediately see, okay, this is my Memorex drive, which is about 2 gigabytes. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And then you can see that it's clearing and formatting. And again, all of this is going to go away. And there it is. And again, this is the whole purpose of the verbose portion here. And I'm going to do some video magic so we can get straight to Bootable. So see you in a second. This is what I was referring to where I said we have that Bootable here. And again, this is about 700 megs. I just looked it up. So this just lets me know that we have a lot of drivers in this Bootable, which we need. We deal with a lot of machines, RAID controllers, different network cards, things like that. So that's why we have this very large swim, and we probably can slim it down, but you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Some more video and magic. I'll just come back once we get to the end. All right, and we are done here. You can see that, you know, I'm not cheating or anything. The script is still running. So this right here lets us know that it did dismount, and it just says, hey, do you want to format another drive? We just hit no, and then we get the please remove your flash drive, which I will. And that's that. That is the end of the script, and we can see here that we're stuck here. So again, I don't remember why I put in this set location. I'm pretty sure there was a reason why. Again, it was 3 years ago. maybe 4 years ago. I'm not sure. But hey, the script works. We've been using it for years, and my whole team uses it. They don't have a problem with it. And again, the reason why I chose to do this over Roof is, for one, I love PowerShell. 2, I want to see if I can do it. And 3, I have ultimate control, right? Because it's signed, that means that you cannot, you can't mess up. You can't change the script or anything like that. Obviously, you can copy and paste it. You can put it into something like VS Code or ISC or some other PowerShell interpreter. But I mean, if you're just running the script, then you're just running the script. I also have shortcuts, and I can control when the ISO gets pushed down to all of our computers that's on the network, right? And I'm not saying that because I feel like I'm a dictator. I'm saying that because, you know, we're in an environment where, you know, I'm all about consistency. So if one computer is set up a certain way, then the computer right next to it should also be set up a certain way as well. All right, guys. Well, that's all that I have. Again, it's been 4 years since I made a last video, but definitely looking forward to making some more videos. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps a lot. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. But leave comments, and I'll be sure to answer any questions that I can. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell, because I will be making more videos. I know I said that, 5 times now. So that way you can get notified of new videos that I will release. I'm going to try to shoot for releasing a video every week. I haven't really set up on a date yet, but definitely going to do a video once a week. And again, it's not going to be only PowerShell. There's going to be some SCCM stuff. You may see some Jamf stuff. But again, just everyday life of an IT technician. All right, well, that's all that I got. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and see you in the next one.